Ah,
Hey, it's FUMFA time. Oh my goodness, Chris
music.
Belden. It's happy October, first of all.
October, Katie Schneider.
October is the best month. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it.
How do we call it? Should we call it Rocktober?
Rocktober?
Or don't you ever listen to classic rock stations and they say it's Rocktober?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Oh
I
yeah.
do listen to some classic rock stations, but you know what's super weird, Chris, is a lot of the stations are ending up playing stuff from the 90s, and I'm like, no, 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 no. It can't be classic rock yet. I
Oh yeah.
mean,
You're
I
getting
mean,
to that age where you're getting into the classic rock territory.
I fear that I am. It's a very strange feeling.
I
You
know.
know, I'm very excited, to celebrate my birthday this month, but it's a little bit wild to be turning 36. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What a number.
Pretty soon, people out there, send your gifts.
Oh yeah,
Katie
yeah.
Schneider, care of Fun for Poets and Writers Live. She takes checks, Venmo.
Well, you know what would be even more awesome is if everyone came to our in-person open mic the day after my birthday,
I think that should be
Friday, October 14th, and signed up to read or just came to enjoy the show and the good times. That's what you should do. Or you could also send checks, but
or just bring your checks. We'll pass a hat, and
all of the above are
it's going to be
acceptable ways.
The Katie birthday open mic. That's what that's.
The Katie birthday open mic. Oh, thank you so much, Brenda. Oh, Bauke wishes he could come down. We wish you could come down too, Bauke. Make it happen one day. We'll figure out how to get you from Nova Scotia.
Maybe he wishes he was 36. Yeah, Baki, I hope you were okay with that storm that came to bear
Oh my goodness.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I remember hearing about that. I remember hearing about that. Chris. Oh, thank you. Oh, happy birthday. Thank you so much. All right, a hurricane. Chris, you didn't tell me what you're drinking this evening. What bev? What beer do we have? Too juicy, two roads.
Juicy. This is from our friends at Two Roads.
Love Two Roads.
And yes, it's too juicy. But actually it's just juicy enough.
It's just does that mean it's well, because an IPA to me, it's hard for me to parse flavors past the hoppiness. What does it mean by juicy?
It's a
Is it like,
hazy, juicy IPA.
is it fruity? Is it
They got there's some of these sort of hazy IPAs have some kind of juice element to it.
juice element?
I don't know how they do it. I don't ask.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
I don't ask what's in there, what's in these things. If it tastes good, it tastes good.
It tastes good.
As long as it doesn't say, pumpkin on there.
Oh, well, I mean, I've been, to be honest, this past week, I've gotten on the pumpkin beer train. I'm into it.
I know.
Well, and I didn't used to think I could ever get into that like combo of flavors, but I can. I really enjoyed the bunch of pumpkin beer that I had, and I was considering it today, but like I said, I'm trying to be low to no gluten. I'm not always committing to that fully, but
Our friend Becky says, "Get off the pumpkin train." He says,
you know.
"No pumpkin."
No, really. No, it's fun. I mean, but I'm really unashamed with my love of pumpkin flavored things. I'm out of control over here.
Little pumpkin didn't ever hurt anybody.
No.
It's not my style, but that's all right. Okay.
No, I get it. I get it. No, it's okay,
What are you
Chris.
drinking?
That's cool. Hmm?
Oh, we got to start. But
We need to give our official welcome to FUMFA reading number 108.
Wow.
So crazy, amazing. And we are so excited to welcome this evening Tongo Eisen-Martin and Matt Sedillo. It's going to be an awesome night of readings. And these are two poets from the West Coast. But tonight, Tongo is in Amsterdam. So joining us from far away late in the night. So we are really, really extra super duper appreciative. And Matt will be joining us, of course, from California. So they are really two incredible poets that we are so excited to hear and so excited to introduce to you if you haven't heard them before.
It's going to be an exciting night.
Yeah, totally. Chris, but what else do we have coming up before we welcome our first reader?
Next week, on the 9th, 1 week from tonight, we have our dear old friend, Larry Bloom.
Yeah.
We'll be reading from his new book of essays about New Haven.
Cool.
And, Larry's one of our favorite people. And he's always just so fun.
Yes.
To chat with. And we also have Brad Davis. So that's going to be fantastic. The week after that, we are doing our live in-person open mic celebration for Katie's birthday.
Oh, no, it's not for my birthday.
On the 14th, that's a Friday at Revolution, as always. And we've got from FUMFA, we've got Yana Opidi, right? We've got Nicole Russo Garcia. We've got our friend Charles Rafferty's gonna. I'm not even sure what he's gonna do because.
Oh, right, I put him on there as poetry, but he could be poetry, prose.
I do a little bit of everything. And we got some comedy from Frank Vera, and then whoever signs up. It's gonna
be awesome.
Deep into the night because it is Katie's birthday.
Oh.
So it's gonna be standing room only. Please come down. And then the week after that, we're back here on the air, 10/23, the 23rd. We've got Mossab Abu Toha and Kalani Picard. That's going to be an amazing night.
It'll be awesome.
And then we got Spooky Night.
Spooky Night
on the 30th. That's New Year's Eve. Geez. It's Halloween Eve, Devil's Night.
Oh.
So keep your eyes peeled for that, and we're going to start
sign-ups for that. Yes.
Sign up if you have a spooky story, spooky poem, spooky whatever, a little anecdote or something. Help us celebrate Halloween that night.
Yeah.
And tonight, I have to say, we are hitting a landmark. Tongo's reading first, and he's going to be our 250th.
Oh my God, Chris, that's awesome.
So he gets a gift certificate to Target.
No, Chris, we should actually come up with like real, actual.
We should.
That are good.
For our 500th reader, we're gonna send them to Puerto Vallarta.
All right.
You can hang out with Ruben down there.
Ruben.
Make sure Ruben is the 500th reader, and then he's already there, so that makes it easy. Anyway, 250 readers, which is pretty.
That is pretty awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for being our guests and for being our audience all across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We really appreciate it. We love doing this, and we love featuring and hearing from all of these incredible writers. And it's going to be another awesome evening tonight where we're looking forward to it. We should, without further ado, Chris, let's get it on rolling. Let's get this going. I am so excited to welcome this evening Tongo Eisen-Martin. Welcome, Tongo.
Hey.
All the way from Amsterdam over there in Europe, the Netherlands, Holland. I can never figure out the Netherlands, Holland. What's the difference?
Netherlands. Right?
You'll never see them in the same place at the same time.
I've noticed that. Damn place. Anyway,
Oh man. Well, Tongo, this is so amazing that you're up so late to be with us. I noticed on your social media earlier today that you had been in Paris. I said, "Uh-oh." But this means so much to us, and we're so excited to hear from you. I'm going to go ahead and share your bio, and then we'll have you take it away. Originally from San Francisco, Tongo Eisen-Martin is a poet, movement worker, and educator. His latest curriculum on extrajudicial killing of Black people, We Charge Genocide Again, has been used as an educational and organizing tool throughout the country. His book titled Someone's Dead Already was nominated for a California Bookstore Award. His book, Heaven is All Goodbyes, was published by the City Lights Pocket Poet Series, was shortlisted for the Griffin's Poetry Prize, and won a California Book Award and an American Book Award. His latest book, Blood on the Fog, was released this fall in the City Lights Pocket Poet Series and named one of the New York Times Poetry Books of the Year. This is also awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
In 2020, he co-founded Black Freighter Press to publish revolutionary works. He is San Francisco's 8th poet laureate. We're so honored to welcome you. Tongo, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much. They will slide the wallpaper right into your cereal bowl. Flesh market, both sides of the levee. Change of plans, both sides of the nonviolence. On no earth, just an earth character. I'm a beggar, and all of this day is too easy. I want to see all the phases of a wall. Every age it goes through, its humanity, its environmental racism. We call this the ordeal blues. Now crawl to the piano seat and make a blanket for your cell. Paint scenes of a child dancing up to a court appearance and leaving an adult, but not for home. Atlantic Ocean charts mixed in with the parole papers. Mainstream funding, the ruling class's only pacifism. Ruling class printing judges, fiat kangaroos, making judges hand over fist. Rapture cop packs, opposition whites, all above a thorny stem. Cast plans picked out like vans for the murder show. Anglo saints addicting you to a power structure. You want me to raise a little slave, don't you? Bash his little brain in and send him to your civil rights. No pain, just a white pain. Delicate bullets in a box next to a stack of monolith scriptures making these bullets look relevant. I remember you. Everywhere you lay your hat is the capital of the South. The posture you introduced to that fence, the fence you introduced to political theory, like if you shred my dream, son, I will tack you to Gunsmoke. Like the suburbs are finally offended. This will be a meditation too. You know, these little societies, they wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offering me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence turned away from a podium into the reeds like God is the dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop balcony on my bedroom floor. You know they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their foolish euphoria. From the loyalty out to their great superstitions, loyalty out to their agrarian reform, I return to my mother completely disrespected. For peeling the heat off of purgatory, they kill poets like me. Walk me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this foul industrial complex of bloodlines picked over, picked through, sport and spiritual death of your devil at least half made, police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century and the mere people, tyranny against your chump change. You're a chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. A cubit of needlework spelled tune for the proletariat, the relapse ministry. Talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dying. Just another service day in the theatrics of tea house fascism, in a bouquet of surveillance cameras, in the poverty of God. New blue eyes, corpses of water, a newly potted presidency. One big shiny coin, if you're asking animated capitalism and other non-literal voids, man, killing is white freedom. The deification of hyphens. Medicine bread and picture shows great protesters in LA. I guess if our ink like a stone torn in half, the pen advances despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical but not surreal day. In a horn-ridden life, horn player improvising king. Like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism. May I return to the ground? May I make progress with the gun? On our Mother Emanuel, they put on music that evening. A swinging type body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills. For your body language, some applause. My past stomach lining, neither a good thing nor a bad thing. Like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading youth who surrendered their souls to Africa too soon. Poly thought floating in the cup of water she saved me, accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynched. Coast leaves, wooden avalanche into the wrist. Our Mother Emanuel, avalanche into the sharp keys, pain. The deal you make with pain. Piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the world gradually, addressing the bending necks on the streets of the north. Traveling, sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north. 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me. Putting 100 fights on every direction offered her Lady Day. Leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself, saying lay your plan on this lightning. Make your poems a corner pocket of men. I've breathed the blues itself. America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. There goes the poet. Killing without killing. Never mind this painting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching. A crow's passing. Good and dead by the afternoon. You know, I had this dream. Planted dead in a weekday. That I was laid up in the hospital, and people kept coming into my room by the dozens, and each dozen had special handshakes for each other and occasionally current dance moves. And they would kick my hospital bed from time to time to let me know that they would be dancing from this room on out to my grave. Strange cha-chas and soft shoe shuffles, disco spins, like they were dancing for a white sundial, marking numbness in their feet drum race riot. And I was ready to die because, ask a musician who is in the tombs after court. It's the surroundings that is the uniform, but still, I just couldn't bring myself to visualize against God. One of them stood over me like a conductor, waving their arms over my body, directing my heart to beat fainter and fainter, directing the tubes to turn the fluids back. I just kept fading from consciousness with thud after thud on the legs of my bed as they danced wilder and wilder. Well, wild but meek, or artificially meek, like an artificial pastor told them to be. Yeah, I was to be some kind of projection or character to be laid at their feet. You're the only one participating in the revolution today. They mocked me, and I was ready to go because, there are plenty of pianos that could use a new soul, and I'm thinking I'm going to be in the revolution for as long as it takes, so you can punch me out now. I mean, I was born with one foot in the lime pit anyway, but check it out. No one bothered to ask the doctor if I was really dead. Too busy strutting, too busy kissing, and I just kept fading and fading with only enough breath and sweet consciousness to count their smiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I heard a voice, a whisper, and it was counting with me. 6, we said. 7, we said. 8. Then another voice joined us. 9. 10. Then another. You see, I haven't been eating, Mama. I've been in a trance. I haven't been sleeping. I've been washing my face off the port of Charleston. There is blood on the fog. Man, like all street life to a certain extent starts fear. Sometimes with a spiritual memory even. Pre-dawn, soul clap, your father dying even. Maybe I pushed the city too far. My sensitivities to landfill districting and minstrel whistles, white supremacist graffiti on westbound rail cars, all overcome and reauthored. Reauthored by revolutionary violence that chose its own protagonists, a muted stage of genius. The garbage is growing voices. Condensed Marxism for warrior depressors, underpasses in their pockets because they just might be deities, a decent bit on the panther name of merciful Marxism. Disquieted home life, a metaphor for relaxing next to a person who is relaxing next to a gun. I stare at my father for a few seconds, then return to my upbringing. Return to the souls of Ohio. Black folk revolution down there, pegging at this point. You know what the clown wants. The respect of the ant. Wants to interpret pain only. Wants to pull a 38 out of a begging bowl. Wants me to hurt my hand on this pen. I'm not tired of these rooms. Just tired the world to give them a relativity. My only change of clothes prosecuted. The government finally learned how to write poems. Shootouts that briefly align, that make up a parable. A parable's like white bodies are paid well. Do white men even have leaders? Are all white people white men? A rap pictures a river. Can almost taste the racial divide. Can almost roll a family member's head into a city hall legislative chamber. I mean, knows who in this good book will fly. All I do is practice, Lord. Decided not to talk out of anger ever again. Met my wife at the same time I met new audience members for our pain. We passed each other cigarettes and watched cops win. A city gone uniquely linear. Harlem of the West, do a true universe. I will always remember you in fancy clothes, my wife said. So here I sit, twisting in silk ideation. Rifle made of postbellum targets made of honest language. This San Francisco poetry is how God knows it's me whining. Riding among the lesser respected wolves. Lesser observed militarization. Dixie List prison bookkeeping. I mean, the California Great Coast are coming. Lynch mob gossip and bourgeois debt collection. I mean, it's tempting to change professions mid-poem. In the Chicago briefing, a white sergeant saying, blank slate for all of us after this black organizer is dead. Standard academics toasting $2 wine at the tank parade, man. Pay of nothing, Lord. Just nuclear cobblestones, gun line athleticism, and the last of the inherited asthma. Children giving white dolls to play with in fear. Facial expressions borrowed from rich people's shoestrings. I can hear hate and teach hate and call tools by people names and name people dead to themselves. No one get naturalized except federal agents soon, carving the equator into throats soon. I'm sorry to make you relive all this, Lord. All this pre-dime monarchy, friends putting up politician posters and snorting the remainder of the pace. Mental script shoved into the walls by the elders. My children sharpening quarters on the city's edge. For these audiences, I project myself into a ghost-like state. For these gangsters, I do the same. Every now and then, take a nervous look east. Sleep becomes Christ. Sleep starts growing a racial identity. Do you ever spiral, Lord? Has the gang age betrayed us? Be patient with my poems, Lord. Ain't so much pain, it's a point to crown. I mean, it has to be if race traders come with it. Lord, is that my revolver in your hand? You know, better presence than these of y'all in the cages have called us holy slaves. Fill the school libraries with cop documentaries, baby. I don't have money for food. Why? I have no present moment at all. I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative. All over the United States, there are toddlers in the rock. I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history or take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewage near where I collapse into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti. In the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part. No cops in part. My body brings down the Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 28th hour's next beauty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration. The waistband before the next protest poster. Hey, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You are witty, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. Yeah, it's only raining one thing. Non-white cops and prison guard shadows reminding me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill. The neighborhood making a lot of fuss over its demise. A new lake for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder. The Figment of Village, a new news to a new white preacher, all in an abstract painting of a president, man. Bought slavery some time, didn't it? The Tancy screeches of military boasts and election Tuesday cards, man, a cold-blooded study in leg irons, proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses. That sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque peach plastic and bolt action audiences. The Medgar Evers II is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondled news clippings and primitive Methodists. My arm changes imperialisms. Simple policing versus structural frenzies. Elementary school script versus whiter white spectrums. Artless bleeding and the challenge of watching civilians think, man, it's just terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads and their arrows myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crests. Modern fans of war, with their T-shirt poems and T-shirt guilt and me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus. I had no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. You know, apparently too much of San Francisco was not there in the first place. Now, let me put it a different way. I talk facing away from the dead. They replace me with the change in my pocket. A penny that's yet to be invented. They say you have to know how to cut a throat on the way to cutting a throat. After sleeping on a mattress made from 2 garbage bags of clothes, I became content with the small gestures of plantation fires. I mean, playing with couch ashes, I realized how weird the universe was. It exists in so many places, so many random things. It interrupts me while I'm trying to dream, like your clay correspondence, Lord. To be transparent, I have 20 books next to a bullet, like an old man giving advice at the beginning of a revolution. I've really done it, Lord. Explored the mumbles of my mind. Explored what's naturally there. And I found no brainwashing. I found Africa, Lord. I have a future. It takes place in the diasporic South. I have morning possessions, modern militancy. I mean, windows to the South. I will walk on a missile for food. I guess you will not want flowers for a few years, Lord. Will I be tied face to face with the country I murder? Merge with us, Lord. Our old metal versus new metal. All metal versus a pool of meandering imperialist faces. A multiculturalism of sorts. The dead replaced me with a comedian's chest cavity. Instead of a chest cavity held tight, it takes a violent middleman for me to talk to myself. Stories that travel through other people's stories, like a song about a song or a hemisphere about a hemisphere. Stories that travel through a conquered poet. My mother remembers Africa, Lord. She killed on behalf of you, Lord. I wore a machete all winter and no one asked me what it meant. I read 1,000 books in front of the world. What I do is fight poems and sleep through decadent San Francisco prayer circles, watch people play for post-working class associative surfaces or recreations of a governor's desk. I mean, ruling class art of utility playing find the sociopathic bureaucrat. A day some white people scare even easier. TV in a basket next to a ceramic baby, wearing ceramic armor, musket progeny fantasizing through the art of the poor. Their trendy latches locked before God, black art hunted down like a dog. And hand over my friends, Lord. Lord, I think I'm going to die in the war. Unelected white people in my small house like a blue song of no spiritual effect, a dollhouse, H-bomb, a pony show, near dead bodies, apartheid weddings that go right, apartheid white people who give birth to mathematicians, the spiritual continuity of barracks and police stations, a chemical interpretation of a Sunday trip to church, church smells in their pockets, a river mistaken for a talking river, no autobiography outside of small personal victories of violence and drug use, made in the image of God trinkets, what white abolitionists confided in their children about, chemical assurances that they will switch from black artist to white artist, from black God to white God, from black worker to white worker. I think about you cautiously, Lord, in the same way I think about my childhood, Lord. Foxhole Friday nights, most of life is mute. A comedian points out a planet's field to a priest. King Sugarcane, King Cotton, King Revolutionary, the Bible Central, containing all modes of shallow introduction, introducing an unlisted planet class, speaking about fevers and balance sheets and reassuring the masses that we could figure out our fathers later. A priest took my mother lightly, Lord. Stood in front of parishioners, re-raveling fantasies about black art. Priest reading confidently before I broke him and broke his parallel. You know, after the day, I've never been a poet before. A little brother watches his big brother's friends. They lean rifles on sheltered walls. They agree with me and call it literature. Yeah, it's a simple matter, this revolution thing. To really lie to no one. To keep nothing. Godlike. To write a poem for God. I appreciate y'all.
Tongo, that was absolutely incredible. Wow! Oh my God. Woo!
Appreciate it.
Wow.
Really incredibly powerful poems, and you know, the way that you shared them with us, just, you know, they're clearly, you know, just so much of a part of you, just really an incredible reading, really powerful. Thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all.
That was beautiful. And, you know, later on, Q&A, and I'm sure people are going to have questions, especially including us. But you had told us earlier you've been working with some musicians over there.
Yes.
Mhm.
In Europe, and you know, it was just so musical. I mean, it was like it was a jazz set. You know, it was just like,
Thank you, man.
you just took off and you kept going, and it was
It was really incredible. It was really incredible.
so
Much love,
yeah,
y'all.
we'll talk about that more later. So
Absolutely.
All right, see y'all in a second.
That's
Yes,
right.
we'll see you at 9 o'clock for our Q&A.
Right
Thank
on.
you so much, Tongo.
All right, y'all.
Oh my God, Chris, just I'm speechless. What an incredible reading, what a powerful reading, and like you said, like jazz, from the moment he began to share till the very end, I was fully captivated. I don't even know if I could like
Oh, it was
hear
like
myself breathing.
it rose and fell and rose and fell. It was very musical, you
It
know.
was incredibly musical. Yes, yes, yes. Just awesome. Just totally awesome. Well, Tongo Eisen-Martin, incredible. We're so excited to get to ask him some questions, but we have another incredible poet to welcome this evening. We're super excited to introduce to you Matt Sedillo. Welcome, Matt.
Hey.
Hey, how are you doing this evening?
I mean, if I was doing any better, I'd be on FUMFA Poets and Writers. So we're doing pretty good.
Matt, we're really, really honored. That is so kind.
Got a whole list of those.
Say again, Chris. What?
If I was feeling any better, he's got like
yeah.
A whole bag of them.
that pulls him right out.
That is so sweet. All right, Chris, would you do the honor of sharing Matt's bio?
I'm gonna try to condense this because Matt is so accomplished.
It's incredibly awesome.
It's very impressive. Matt Sedillo has been described as the best political poet in America, as well as the poet laureate of the struggle. We're going to do some of that tonight. His work has drawn comparisons in print to all kinds of people: Brecht, Dalton, Baraka, Ginsberg, Sandberg, various other legends of the past. He was the recipient of the 2017 Joe Hill Labor Poetry Award, a panelist at the 2020 Texas Book Festival, a participant in the 2012 San Francisco International Poetry Festival, the 2022 Elba Poetry Festival, recipient of the 2022 Dante's Laurel. He's appeared on C-SPAN, that's kind of interesting, and has been in the LA Times, Axios, the AP, among other publications.
So cool.
He's spoken at Casa de las Americas in Havana, Cuba, at numerous conferences and forums all over the place. So it's too many to name.
Incredible.
He's the author. I want to get to his books, Mowing Leaves of Grass and City on the Second Floor. They're both from Flower Song Press, and both are taught at universities throughout the country. He is the current literary director of the Mexican Cultural Institute of Los Angeles.
So cool.
Matt.
Sundown, Levittown, Fort Apache, Dirty Harry, John Wayne, Blackface, Minuteman, Moynihan, Gone with the Wind, Breaking Bad. Washington Redskin, Confederate flag, the sword, the dollar, the cannon, the scholar, the cavalry, and the Ivy League history, as written by lightning, is the rising smoke of burning village. The ways in which victors keep their victims, frontier thesis notes on the state of Virginia, extraction, expansion, the winning of the West, Lewis and Clark, Smith and Wesson, I'll circle the wagon with bloodshed and slave sweat, the crack of the whip. The law 3/5, the crown republic, King Cotton, intended failures of Reconstruction, the housing covenants that greeted great migration, the same to the Mexicans of poor Mexico. So far from heaven and so close to Monroe Doctrine. To Davy Crockett. To prison industrial complex, a war on drugs is a war on our young. Bloody Christmas. Reefer Madness. 15 to life for 4 ounces, East Oakland. West Baltimore. South La Brea and Oliver North, Plymouth Rock. Jamestown. The Rio Grande. Stolen lives. Stolen land. See, some are born in summer homes and palatial groves where pain was only to unfold from the pages of secret gardens where Redfern grows, but not I. See, I come from the stock of star-eyed astronauts who greet the night sky with big dreams and wide eyes, always running down the Devil's Highway through occupied America, on the way back to house on Mango Street, and all the books he wants to read. Raised on a handball of the back wall of a panaderia born east the river, post Mendez versus Westminster, one generation with red lines and diplomas that were signed with those dreams in that skin need not apply. See, I come from struggle. And if my story offends you, it was only because you made the mistake of seeking your reflection in my self-portrait. See, this will not be about you. Because some are born of the common core, whose selected faces grace the pages of doctrine discovered, age to be explored. Where old world hardships crashed against new shores, New England, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York for others, pushed off Turtle Island. Aslan, do not call this brown-skinned immigrant. Child of the sun. Son of the conquest, Mexicano blood. Running through the veins, the east side of Los Angeles. Do not tell him in native tongue a song will best be sung. Do not tell me who I am. Because I was raised like you. Miseducating some of those very same schools off lessons and legends of honest Indians and Christian pilgrims and a nation of immigrants all united in freedom. That isn't until they pulled aside my white friend, pointed directly at me and said, Scott, I judge you by the company you keep. And you spend your time with this. And the same old story, it's 1846. The adventure of Uncle Sam, the stick-up man, a wetback. Show me your papers, now give me your labor. The melting pot was never made for the hands to clean it. The American dream has always come at the expense of those who tucked it in. You don't know that. You don't teach it. Could write you a book, but you won't read it, so you know it's about you. In 1492, in the Treaty of Guadalupe and California missions and Arizona schools, these racists that try to erase us as their kids in cities that bear our names. You can learn some today, from Ferdinand to Minuteman, from Arpaio to Alamo, from Bobo Buddha to Joaquin the Indian, that lives in me from Mississippi 8 to Mississippi 43, try to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Canadian minds, they don't strike the blind de Allah, Zapata, Joaquin Murrieta, Natalitas, Brown Baresi, Zapatistas, Richard Nixon, the third Napoleon, from Peckinpah to Houston, from Lone Star Republic to Christopher Columbus, all the way down to Donald Trump. We didn't cross the borders crossed us. Who you calling immigrants? Pilgrim. So those first two poems are Stolen Lives, Stolen Land, and Pilgrim, both available in Mowing Leaves of Grass. It is called Mowing Leaves of Grass because Walt Whitman was very racist. For those who don't know, he was a journalist, and he wrote What is Miserable, Inefficient Mexico, the Grand Mission of People in New World, Noble Race. And he wrote this in advocacy of the Mexican-American War, Manifest Destiny, all that. But you could also find it in his poetry. I mean, you can find a number of allusions to things. One poem really kind of stuck out to me was one he has about California. He says, California teaches robust American love. Now, he's writing this in the 1850s. What does that mean at the time in the 1850s? Right about teaching California robust American love. When we're talking about a time of mass lynchings, of the Greaser Act, of the foreign miners tax, of all this dispossession of Mexicanos from land, and all this wild, wild west, just, you know, the law of blood. And this is what Whitman's talking about, teaching robust American love. So that's why it's called Mowing Leaves of Grass. So for those who are curious, this next one, it's taught at all kinds of like ethnic studies courses in all over the country. So this other one, City on the Second Floor, is the one that came out this year, much more like a Marxist sociology type text. So that's anyways, we get right into it. This poem's called LA is Full of Pigs. And you know, I live a very interesting life. I get to travel around a lot, get to speak at universities, but it wasn't always that way. I used to work retail. I was a cashier at the worst place, which is called Steinmart. I don't know if they have them, where everyone's listening right now, but it was horrible. And I remember the last day I was there, or one of the last days, or one of what I wanted to be my last day there. I was getting yelled at by my manager, and I can remember the dignity welling in my stomach and reaching my hands. And I pulled off my name badge, said, "I don't take this. I'm a human being. I quit." And she said, "No, you don't," and pinned it back on me. And I was there for another 6 months. So that's kind of the story of my life. But anyways, I put the seed in my mind that I wanted to quit. And so I was able to quit and start doing like shows at universities and all kinds like this. And I started getting really sick, and I know what it was. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my health. I'm gonna lose my apartment. I'm gonna lose my life at the hands of the police if I end up on the streets. That was kind of where my mind was at. And that's when I wrote this poem. And I actually wrote it or I came up with the title while I was in the city of San Francisco, because I noticed there were less cops, and they weren't any better, but there was less of them. And I was like, man, LA is really full of pigs. I was like, oh, Eureka. So there's the name of this poem, LA is Full of Pigs. Los Angeles falling apart. In the streets, in the suburbs, in the wind. In the barely kept Hollywood bathroom, wheezing, vomiting, coughing up blood. These past few days, these past few years, I've spread myself across this sprawl. And now fear this drive may kill me. May kill us all. And I wander over a general hospital between whose walls desperation wears in high concentration. Upon the faces of the shop-worn and prematurely ill alike. As they wait upon the news of illness they cannot afford to have, survival without insurance may take a while. Los Angeles is full of untold misery. A homeless man sleeps next to me, and I could smell the years of hard distance between who he is now than we may have been. And all that stands between him and the bitter wind is chance. It's the kindness of a night nurse who let him sleep in peace. Los Angeles is full of good people who from time to time can turn a blind eye to killer policy. And I wonder how bounce checks, free clinics, carry cash and leave the count in the negative sent to me and him. Me and the bitter wind, and if so, where would I go? From Venice to San Francisco is not a war on the homeless, a war on the dispossessed. I got fewer and fewer options. I got shelters for women and children, all an ad for me. Just man up, homeboy. It's that concrete pillow, it's that cardboard blanket, and freeze yourself to death. It's a city will leave you to die on the same stretch of sidewalk where banks stretch into the sky. And I wonder, as even now Skid Row is being gentrified as a city, as a system, as the pigs push people past poverty, past hunger, past homelessness, to the very edge of existence on Skid Row, we're also called complexities and economy are laid bare, where the rich are literally stacked upon the poor. Los Angeles is full of grotesque absurdity, especially on Skid Row, with millions annually policing the misery of people with nowhere to go because your pockets are empty. It ain't got nothing, and change is not coming. Well, there's no real difference between a booming metropolis and a barren desert. Little money passes by you, passes through you, as though you, which is part of the scenery protected in the knowledge they are serviced by pigs who speak the language of violence, the language of the nightstick, the language of untold misery. They will beat you for begging, beat you for sleeping, beat you for breathing, beat you for doing whatever it is you need to do to survive the night in the bitter wind. Los Angeles. I said Los Angeles. It's full of pigs. All right. So this next poem is also from City on the Second Floor. City on the Second Floor gets its title from a hotel in Los Angeles called the Bonaventure. And actually, if you go there, you can actually someone coming into town can conduct business without ever having to touch the street. They can walk between these bridges across these buildings, and it really made me think a lot about the ways that cities are just set up and just built against the people that are in them, and how every room we enter is set up to either exclude you or exploit you. So that's kind of where City on the Second Floor was coming from. This next poem is called The Rich. Now, I need people to understand this is a persona poem. I am not a billionaire. I am not a billionaire. I've been protested while doing this poem. People come like, we're going to rise up against you. And it's like, yeah, bro, I'm a billionaire, and I came to brag in all 6 of your faces. That's really what I'm doing with my Friday night. Anyways, this poem's called The Rich, also available on City on the Second Floor. The rich! Well, they're not like you and me. They see an opportunity, they grab it. Reach for the stars, and they put them in their pocket. Company stays in the red, but they're backed by the government. Store the public dime to lines of pure profit. Research and development. The rich, wow, they'd even breed. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams. Thoroughbred stallions. Quarter mansion, the sea, Deepwater Horizon, blood diamonds. Golden parachute, silicon messiahs. Feasting on endangered species served on silver platters. Winter palaces carved from the tips of icebergs. Six-figure charters. Vulture capital. $1 million cufflinks looking life like an apple. Insured by suicide nets. Lifestyles of the criminally negligent, but you haven't lived till you've launched a car in space for reason. That's what I call freedom. The rich, well, here's how it is. Dollars and cents. Trademark and rent. Facts and figures, lines on ledger, derivatives and debt, building the future, increasing productivity, union busting back to the 100-hour work week, treating the fat pushing monopolies, little money, shorts, and bets. That, my friend, is how the rich stay rich while the rest make poor decisions. And it's pure ecstasy, living in the lap of luxury, pushing pharmaceutical mark of the market will bear your body to its altar at a life or death bargain, the gospel of wealth, because it is what it is, and that's all it's ever been. The less we spend, the more we keep. You see, the rich and the poor, well, they're just like you. 2 hands, 2 feet, the sky, the sea, and one heart that beats in the time to make the most of it. So find no sympathy, reaching into these deep pockets. All we ever asked was for our fair share, and God damn it, that's all of it. So out the streets, scream for peace and justice. We sleep in satin sheets, dream free and guiltless over oceans and tariffs, liquidating pensions, then off to bid on porcelain portraits at billion-dollar auctions. You know you need us. You know we're selling your secrets. You know Cincinnati kids watching the puppets on television. Made freedom, free speech, fascism, democracy will reach in the earth and punch the ozone and fuel the economy with space stations. Yes, space stations hydrating the red planets. We're gonna survive this lava pits. You got pots and pans. We got deeds and plans. Chopping down rainforest, colonizing the moon. We're the rich. Are you? We'll privatize the water supply and then copyright the tears falling from your eyes. Burn it all down. What the hell are you talking about? The ice caps are already melting. You want to start to eat the rich? We're already killing your kids. 1 carbon footprint, 1 gas house emission, 1 oil rig, 1 naval ship, 1 free trade agreement at a time. We'll get away with it too. Nothing we say or do is ever held against us. Haven't you been paying attention? We're rich. All right, so those first four are from these two collections. These next 2 poems we're going to do are actually from some unpublished works. Here we go. This one's actually from which should be coming out next year, if all goes well. Poetry collection called Mexican Style. So here we go. This poem's called They Climbed into a Graveyard. It's a little bit different. It started young and they're the best of friends. And if you weren't one of them, well, then you should understand that was just as well, for life is short, the world is wide. And they were 12. And with that age, it's time to explain the mystery, the meaning of singing skies, birds that cry, international code, the contraband eyes, inside jokes, and all. They grew up across the tracks, parents way back, but didn't get along. Well, the fathers did, but the mothers didn't. That goes some arguments some years ago. It didn't seem like much at the time, but the acid from the battery factory over the years, it just seeped into every aspect of their lives. Living power lines, rent hikes, barbed wire, the killer siren, your soil, the poison lungs, the gun blast, soundtracks, the late 80s, with their parents screaming through failing marriage, not poison enough. They resented their fathers for how they treated their mothers for how they treated them. One tried to teach the other Spanish, and the other to imagine old Mexico before her time, frozen in place. La Patria, Infante, Negrete, Glory Marine, Maria Felix, a golden age, a balcony and serenade where 2 weary travelers could finally be themselves. They worked hard. They were smart. They sit inside, they stay up nights, they sacrificed. They were first-generation college grads, left the old neighborhood and talked for years about one day giving back. They never did. They lived to see amazing things, the making of history, the browning of America, taco trucks in every corner, a telenovela on every screen. They shattered glass ceilings, got jobs with bosses who stole their ideas, married men who left them for younger women, had children, some who made them proud and some who didn't. And the which was never hard to guess. They would only ever tell each other, and they would laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh until they were done, because laughing at the lives that, despite our best efforts, turn out just like our parents is exactly what best friends are for. They fell out ages ago, really. Didn't seem like much at the time, but they didn't speak for decades. Each faced the pain of age, the gathering of graves, the golden years, where everything finally starts clicking. Where you can finally make sense of all this mystery and meaning without the ear of the one person who understood them best. They reconnected sometime last year, now in their late 80s, after one of their husbands finally died. They spoke solemn at first out of respect, then laughed and mourned at the loss of their own time. And they cried, and they cried, and they cried until they were done, each telling the story of the other. The stories that had defined their lives, and as this story nears its end, there is still yet time for one. Sometime in their late 40s, after one of their second divorces, they finally reached Mexico. They dipped their toes in 2 oceans. Their eyes drank in the mountains as they recalled the legends of lovers. On the final day, they dressed in the glamour of another time, frozen in place. They came upon a graveyard, appearing to be locked. Undeterred, one stepped into the other's palms. Once lifted, she extended her arm to help her friend over the iron rods. They crashed to the ground. They tore their dresses. They spent hours searching for the grave of Maria Felix. They sat for hours at the grave of Maria Felix, each telling of the folly and tragedy of being born in the wrong place at the wrong time. They left the way they came in, clawing. Across the street, a child was pointing and laughing. One cried back in her Mexican-American accent, "Oye, payaso, ¿qué haces? ¿Dónde está su padres?" The child said nothing and pointed to an open door. Now they were all laughing. They had climbed into a graveyard for nothing. And yet, any story worth having is worth living. And yet, what is a life without laughter? And yet, laughing at our decisions, our regrets, at the lives we have led, despite our best efforts, is exactly what best friends are for, and they were the best. The very best. The best of friends. So that one's coming out next year, Mexican Style. This one's going to come out the year after that, called Elon Musk Must Be Stopped. And these will all be available on Flower Song, so long as everything stays cool. And everything should stay cool because Edward is the best. All right, here we go. Elon Musk Must Be Stopped. It's going to be like an epic poem about like colonization, mostly focusing on extraction. This is how the whole book begins. Here we go. It's gonna be like a series of little cantos or something. It's like 1, 2, 3. Anyway, here we go. Elon Musk must be stopped. When presented gifts, they severed limbs, shipped children, cracked the heads of infants against a stone, then demanded more by sea, by sword, by disease, by design, genocide. First charge ashore, sailor. It's your first time around, captain. Said all you have to offer, the blood, the blade, this new crusade, this human plague, this beast that walks upon 2 legs, opening chapter. It's original sin, all it's long after. First contact, name discovery and doctrine. They clasped hands, there's flags towards the heavens. Fill the sky with ash, but visions, traditions, means of knowing, learn ways of land, lectures of the soil, the study of stars, books of the dead, the name of divine right, they flatten time, they call this history. These flames holy, these deeds sacred, this word, inspire them to edicts, kings, and holy wars, that fire the corn, torch monument, coin, destroyed aqueducts and dams, they called this work the Lord's. They raped, they killed, they pillaged, and enslaved without trade, but the wealth of modern Europe, of the theft of 2 continents, uncovered the distance to what they had said and what they had done. They turned to everything and everyone crowded. Indio, Mestizo, Santo Domingo, New Spain, the Hudson Bay, merciless Indians, King Philip, Washington, New England, New York, by sea, by sword, by disease, by design, genocide, by a name. Mules wind down the road. Mules wind down the road, down the mountain. The mountain eats men. Mules wind down the road, down the mountain that eats men, carrying silver to the mill that fuels the armada in rich Potosi, the envy of kings, the king of mountains, the treasury of the world. To reach rich Potosi, they leap, knives and teeth, fleeing death. The merchant ships dream of silver and gold. Men leave home, dream of silver and gold. For merchant ships fleeing death, knives and teeth, they leap. Welcome to rich Potosi, the envy of kings, where the air is thin and the wind is ice. Mercenary minds, mill and brothel, the finest garments, the cheapest thrills, the king of mountains, where the life of poor Indian is cheapest still. Elon tweets the heavens, tearing money from earth, pockets of lithium, knives and teeth. The mountain eats pockets of lithium, tearing money from the earth. Elon tweets the heavens, we will coup whoever we want, we will coup whoever we want, we will coup whoever we want. Knives and teeth, Elon tweets, 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 knives and teeth. The mountain eats men. And yeah, I'm gonna close out with one last poem here, and this one's called El Sereno, and it's where I'm from, so it's a dedication to my family and to the people I come from. So here we go. It's called El Sereno. I was born on the east side of Los Angeles, across the tracks from bandit steel, industrial, petrified forest. Across the steps, a giant green tarp to the customers and gossipers, our abuelitas. From raised sun, the bomb's a bird. They spoke Spanish. Sold mangoes, papayas, and cherries, my favorite. As a child, I could never quite make the connection between the broken, empty bottles across the steps and the broken, empty men poured across the rest tractors from across the tracks. So my cousins and I would gather and throw rocks of dirt aimed directly for the head. And the men would yell back something like, "What do you kids know about life?" And we yelled back, "Take that, drunks." That was messed up. That's how it was growing up. Where Valley climbs up into Minnesota. El Sereno. In the 1950s, my mother's father, technician by trade, by birth, a prince among men, in a backwards kingdom that held him back, that treated him different for the radiance of his unapologetic brown skin, raised a family of 6 on a single income. There's hard, fought genius in me, older than my mother's womb. December 18th, 1981, after months of fear and absence, my father makes his return. My aunt moves to a hospital bed. She does not want to see you. You know what you did. It would be best for everyone if you were just to leave. My mother holds her newborn, her only begotten son. There's a pain in me, older than my father's blood. As a child, I can never quite make the connection between his fingers around my throat and the anguish in his chest, a suffering older than my father's bones. His father's whiskey, grandfather's short temper, long-lived legacy to a time history does not care to remember, because beatings on a fit for scrapbooks and genealogy shame rarely make their way to the oral tradition of campfire. There is a burning in my heart. The time cannot trace. Moved out from my father's, the suburbs treated me different. One day in the workforce, I told my boss, last night I met a woman. Beautiful and intelligent. Asked where at? Boyle Heights. Where's that? The east side of Los Angeles. Asks incredulous. You met an intelligent woman in East Los Angeles? I want to slap the cavalry from a smirk. Beat the manifest destiny out of his name badge, but needing a paycheck, I stood in the weakness of silence, the pain and anguish of generations long past, alive and sickened in my chest. There is a shame attempted upon us. older than the tongues of bigots. Walked off job. Marched off lot, fist up for the cause in a world that has told us no. That has told us different. I've chosen yes. Yes, I'm Chicano. Yes, Mexicano. Yes, indigenous, brown skin and bleed red. Yes, unafraid and unashamed. My passion, my potential, my intelligence. Yes, the fire in my chest. Look into my eyes, you can feel its strength. And yes, as a matter of fact, some of the most radiant, gifted, talented, beautiful, intelligent women I have ever met reside on the east side of Los Angeles, just across the steps from the streets where I was born. Yes, I am all of this and more. I, like you, am made of stars. You, like me, so full of pain, are brimming with genius. Listen to no one would make you feel different. Thank you so much.
Woo! Matt Sedillo. Oh, powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this evening I'm just captivated. Just incredibly powerful poetry. Very important poetry, as personal as it is, societal and sort of universal in what you're talking about and the things that you're addressing in the concerns and the issues that you're talking about, Matt. It's so powerful and so important. And I loved also just what you shared between the poems about the inspiration behind them, what they meant to you, where you were at in these different places in your life. Really incredible, really powerful stuff, and just so excited for everything that you're getting to do with these poems.
Oh, thanks. I mean, it's a real honor and pleasure to be on here with Tongo. I mean, that's one of these happy coincidences. I've known
Yeah.
me and Tongo know each other about 13 years now, so I knew him before all those things that he's doing, and he's so deserving, so richly deserving of everything that's come to him, and I'm very proud that he to consider myself a friend of his, or I hope still. We're friends. I mean, I'm really. It's a real honor, and it's been incredible to watch him go from somebody that I and a handful of people knew about to be this guy who's traveling the world and really famous now. So
yeah,
that is so cool. And we are so honored to get to spend the evening with the both of you so tremendously accomplished and doing really awesome work, really important work. And we're just cheering for you over here, and we're just really honored to get to have a reading with you here, and excited to for everyone who can't kind of join live, for them to get to hear both of you when they're able to. Just awesome. So we are going to get into our Q&A for the evening. Let's bring Tongo back up, and let's have another round of applause for Tongo Eisen-Martin and Matt Sedillo. Woo! Both of you just totally incredible. You just knocked us out completely with your powerful political poetry, with your rhythm, and just the incredible power of your word choices and everything that you're talking.
Energy.
Yes.
It was like a typhoon.
Yeah.
of verbiage, and it was like, and both of you, and I want to talk about this eventually, Tongo and Matt both. There would be these just cascade of language, just like coming at us, and then it would be a lull, right? And well, I mean, I'll ask you right now, right? Just like, and there would be a lull, slow down, and then it would speed up, and then it would slow down again, and it's almost like I mean, it's not almost, it is like music. And I just wonder, like, you guys perform these poems all the time. How different is it, like, from night to night, or reading to reading? Is it like music? You play a song and it's sort of like it's the same every night, or like jazz where it's like, oh, okay, this is my mood. I'm gonna go fast now, slow now. I mean, how much does it change? Tango first.
Yeah, it changes every time.
I love
I
it.
believe it. I believe it. But I mean, it feels so organic. It feels like it must happen like this every time because it just feels right. But it's
Well,
you know,
it in a very like non-heroic way. It's almost the path of least resistance to cooperate word for word with the combination or the synthesis available. So you might be in a part of a poem that is kind of asked to be said softer
Mm.
than what you were just saying. But now how soft it goes can depend on a few things. It can be, the goofy part of trade secret. I mean, there was one time I went low just because the thought occurred to me that it's like 2 a.m. here. I was just
yeah.
like, well, what are the neighbors thinking? And so that put me that like I dropped with that thought,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then built back up with built back up with the next idea that kind of gave me a surge. A helpful way of kind of looking at it is, and it's actually for writing too,
Mm.
is to think of yourself as both, and not in a like super mysterious way, in a way that's evidenced all over the place. You're a vessel
Mm.
of the universe talking, um, but you're also a vessel of the universe listening. And
Yes.
so there's this little sweet spot that you can occupy, that your mind can slip into as the facilitator of the poem, in that it's like I'm actually the most front row in this situation, just getting affected. And so, it's almost like, like they say, the crowd, we need the crowd to give us something, or, you evaluate it like, yeah, they were giving me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When actually, you can actually have that same dance with you and you.
Yes. Yes, I get what you mean.
You and the poem, and so you just kind of spin around together, you and the words and the ideas from this type of thing. But there's so at all time, or should I say, there is the goofy, there is the mysterious. There is what we can make a science out of. There are some things that feel like they're better left unexplained.
Mm.
Tango, I have to say,
But you just like cooperate with it all, and it goes
yeah.
to different places.
There were a couple of points there where I was thinking, it's the middle of the night there, and are there neighbors, like, how thick?
All over. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is an apartment.
Wouldn't it be funny if we heard, the broom on the?
And this is like the first floor, right?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure the window was open,
Yeah.
so that if they call the police,
Oh
on me, the police will see somebody yelling at a laptop.
no. Okay.
'Cause you never know. You know what I'm saying? You know, they got away with a lot of slavery out here. I don't trust it.
It could be a poem
I
in
don't
there.
trust this. I don't trust it. Now, shout out to Amsterdam, but I don't, you know, I don't know. They got away with a lot of colonialism. You know what I mean?
They
So
did.
I don't trust the PD
Yeah.
anywhere. You know.
So Matt, how about you? Because you were approaching some serious velocity there with the this. I mean, it's I don't know if you do like acting exercises before you read, just like to get the diction, to say all those words, and it just rushes at us, and then slows down. Is it, how do you determine, particularly on virtual? You're on a computer there in your kitchen. It's not like you're in front of an audience and you can kind of feel that vibe. So how does that work?
Yeah, pure madness, man. I'm staring at myself and just deep into my own eyes and trying to like move myself it's a very bizarre experience. I mean, being on Zoom is one thing, but like staring into a computer at yourself,
Yeah.
looking back at yourself, that is a whole
It's
that's a
all
whole
next
other, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm still not quite used to that. When I'm on the Zoom, I kind of learn how to do this. Like, okay, well, I'm like an independent filmmaker now. Like, I'm like this is like a Blair Witch poetry set, right? Like, moving the laptop around, doing stuff. But like, as far as just generally writing, I mean, it's similar to Tongo. What he's talking about, you kind of like whatever you're feeling at the moment to try and like be as natural as possible. But I probably have a little more tighter parameters of what's going to happen. Like, it's going to be either like really sad or just kind of sad. It's never going to be like it's actually going to be happy. I mean, it's always like it's going to be either really like ha 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 ha, or it's going to be either really manic or just a little bit manic. I mean, like the sections are kind of plotted out a certain kind of way. I mean, I write in like a 3-act structure. So, the beginning, we're going to world build. In the middle, we're going to like increase the conflict. In the end, we're going to resolve the conflict with elements of the world build. So it does not seem like this came out of nowhere.
Interesting.
So this is how I write. So,
That's
I
good.
mean, and that's my typical structure. So, like for instance, the poem I wrote about the two friends, I knew ahead of time that I wanted to write the story of two women who were friends, and it had to end in a flashback. So that's why I gave myself that challenge to do that. And so I just started filling in all the details of all those other things. I'm like, okay, now I want a montage of them getting older and going to school and this and that, and the friendship grows over the years, and it happens real fast, So it's gonna start when they're young, and then it's gonna go back to they're old, and they're gonna flash back to a time when they were not quite as young as when the story began, but younger than they are then. So that I knew that ahead of time. So I was like, okay, so just gonna fill in these points here. So I map things out like that. That's typically
That is so cool. It's so awesome to hear you both explain the process of reading, how you plan a reading, and also what kind of goes into it in that moment as well. I really loved how you both described your process. And Tongo, to go back to what you said, I like how you said you're kind of both the vessel and the audience, and you're kind of you're the front row for yourself, and you're hearing it, you're moving through it as you do, and of course you have some habits, but certain things are just indicated by the reading itself. And Matt, I loved how you said you got to decide how how manic you want it's gonna get, but you have over the course of the reading, you kind of you shape an arc, and we understand more about what you're saying, about what you're doing, about the things that are important to you. Just really fantastic readings from both of you, and such a captivating reading style. We love it. We just absolutely love it. We have kind of a huge famous first question that we ask that is a little bit more general, that I think all writers can speak to, but we like to ask everyone who comes on the show, how has writing changed your life? And maybe just to kind of tag on to that, when did you start writing and performing poetry? At Tongo, and then Matt.
Man,
I know it's kind of late to ask that question.
It is.
Sorry,
I got you. Well, it's hard. It's hard to. why I would stutter is in a way I can't tell which is my truest way of communicating.
Mm.
You know, I mean, it's such a home of a mode.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure what who's the main character.
Right. Where the poetry stops and like your
Right,
non-poetic life begins.
right. Because definitely just as just human being as observer, there really is
Right.
no difference.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the journey for me was just poetry actually moving to a kind of this central identity.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I started pretty young, not intentionally, but it's just lines would just jump into my brain um, from very, very early. And in response, I would hear something and then it's just whatever it was, whether it was,
Just start to
some
do it.
Langston Hughes or some Gil Scott Heron or, some hip hop, you know, I couldn't listen without something jumping in
Responding.
my mind. But as far as, just growing up in the empire, the artist is just is low is actually a low position in the room, believe it or not.
Mm.
Um, I know this corporatocracy has kind of created a ism out of celebrity worship, but as you truly experience oppression, how you truly experience the empire, the strongest person in the room is usually not there to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
So they're there to arrest people, Lord. Tell
Yeah.
somebody what to do, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Make money off of you
some
somehow.
some derivative of absolute power or some quest for absolute power. So kind of molding myself uh in relationship to that, not necessarily in cooperation with that or conformity, but always kind of just dancing with realities of, the white power structure. I didn't really seek to be. Um, and there is kind of this. I wouldn't put the mumbo jumbo of like The Secret on it, but there's kind of like a kind of a quiet, a very, very, very quiet, but like definitive conversation you kind of have with, I don't put it on too thick, but maybe it's just with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be with all things, with the interconnectedness of all things.
Yeah.
Where you have a little agreement on like what exactly you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And there was a turn for me. I did
Yeah.
kind of think like, like man, you don't like in a way don't it's not, and I'm sorry I'm rambling. It's the middle of the night, but
That's
I'll
fine.
wrap it up. I'll wrap it up. It wasn't necessarily out of fear
Mm-hmm.
of kind of being known. It was out of a respect for the kind of like building yourself from the anonymous work.
Right.
So I spent the majority of my early life, well, early and middle life, um, as just like a teacher, a youth worker, the random organizer knocking on your door in Mississippi. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So and it's from that, that kind of orientation to history
Yes.
of entering the historical process as anonymous cultural worker was my, was what I centered myself around. And so
Right.
it was a little, there was a little, or like subtle, small, but with a big effect, a kind of a switch within myself where I said, all right, I can, I'm prepared to step out of that as primary
Right.
primary negotiator with reality. So I say that more like, how I, what kind of what evolved. But ultimately it's just intelligence. You know what I mean? It's just intelligence, that's synthesized from, threads that I
Right.
dribbled
All
down
these
better.
different threads kind of coming together. And I liked how you said kind of you're already stepping out there as this kind of cultural worker. It's almost, this kind of natural moment to say, all right, now I'm going to be a kind of a mouthpiece for this as a poet, and I'm also going to bring together these threads of myself and my experience and express them in this powerful way, which I'm sure is kind of following the same threads of what you had been working in, but just kind of maybe expressing it through poetry, maybe not knocking on the doors, but or like actively knocking on the doors at this moment, but sharing these poems that are bringing that message and more to an audience. But just really incredible to hear your story and how it's like it's one and the same with you. And this is what we often get for this question, which is how has poetry changed your life? It's like, oh, where does it begin or end? It's part of me. But Matt, I would love to hear you share how has writing changed your life.
Well, I mean, before I was always writing, but like before I was able to be like a writer or a poet, or I was working in retail. I was working behind cash
Yeah.
register. My whole life is a frenzied flight from never having to do that again, because I am the worst wage labor, or in terms of just having like a crisis every time I do it. Every time I'm working for someone else in a job where I'm just making other people rich, which is what most of us do. I get really like, I start like getting like panicky, and I start like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, and my grave's gonna say, here lies a man who folded shirts, and he folded them well, and he taught the way, he's taught the Steinmart way to fold these shirts and get the whole right. And that's how I get. When I was a tram announcer at Disneyland, welcome aboard the Mickey and Friends tram. Your courtesy,
Oh my
guys.
god.
Yeah, I could feel myself dying. I could feel like the minutes ticking away from my life.
I know
And
that.
so my whole life is really just running away from that. That's on my end, right? So my end is that like there are certain things I don't ever want to do again. I don't ever have to want to do again. Writing and doing it at the level that I'm at currently is very hard work. It is work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of emails. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of things that people just have to do in order, if you want to make any money. And that's where that it's work, but it's not the soul crushing work of that other stuff. So that's kind of like for me, right? In terms of like what I'm actually writing about, what I'm actually out there doing. I mean, you take a book like Mowing Leaves of Grass. I mean, some of the poems I shared today, Sundown, that's reference to sundown towns. Levittown's the first suburb in America. Dirty, all these lists of movies. The poem Pilgrim says, down the Devil's Highway through occupied America on the way back to House on Mango Street. Those books were all banned in Tucson. And before that, it makes reference to the books Where the Red Fern Grows,
Yep.
and The Secret Garden. Those are books I read as a teenager, because these are coming of age books, right? So these are books you're allowed to read. These books I'm supposed to read and identify with as a teenager. And these are books that I'm told I cannot read, or at least kids from my ethnic background in Arizona told they cannot read, which actually written by people that come from similar experience. So the whole thing comes from that. So I am involved deeply in the struggle for ethnic studies. My book Mowing Leaves of Grass is taught all over these places.
Awesome.
And I go and talk at schools where the book is taught. and so I'm involved in this thing, and within this thing is for me, it's very important because the other works that are being taught in some places taught right alongside Occupied America, the book it makes reference to, which is a book by Rudy Acuna, which is a history book, but it's really important to me because a lot of the books that are taught in these ethnic studies, the Chicano studies particularly, were written in like the 70s, the 80s,
Right.
early 90s, and that's about it. So for that if books and things are not produced of some sort right now and are not popularized right now,
That's
then
right.
this chain is gonna it's going to dissolve. So being a link in that chain, being a link in that chain is extremely important to me. It's not that it's not important to me that I do it. It's important that someone does it or
But
that it's getting
it
done,
happens. It's
and
happening.
that it happens, right? So it's something I'm good at. It's something I know how to do. It's something that I'm one of. I mean, I'm not giving a false humility. I'm really one of the best at weaving like a lot of history into a short span of time, making history exciting. I'm really, really good at that, and so it's my obligation to do it. And so I do it to the best of my ability, and I try and get better and better at it every day, which is hard because at this point in time, I've said most of the things I know, which means I have to learn new things.
Well, we so appreciate well, not only do we really enjoy your work and we feel the power of it, but we know how we recognize how important it is, and that there is an aspect of burden with that. And there's a fantastic question that just came in here, to both of you. We'll say Tongo, then Matt. As politically focused poets, do you feel like the things you write about impact more heavily? And if so, how do you prioritize self-care to avoid burnout? This is from Liv Monahan. At Tongo, and then Matt.
Yes.
Yes. Agree.
Yes. Because it's, really, just a politically focused human being, which is really just to say human being, or understanding that, the revolutionary project is really just one of humanization. So in a way, it's like, yeah, whooped at all times, running on,
Exhausted.
exhausted. But I find hegemony actually even more draining. I find a reactionary life even more, more of a nightmare, or not a nightmare with nothing on the other side. And just when I think it's groovy to be me, they throw kids in cages. Just when I think it's groovy to be me, the system expresses its true nature as just a monopoly of violence, and its true nature as existing in absolute contradiction with me and those I love. And so there's no
There's like no other option, right? Like this is you have to do this.
the collision course is what it is.
How do you prioritize self-care? I know we're keeping you up very late, preventing
Yeah.
adding
Man,
to the burnout.
the only I mean, it really is selfishly a kind of I wouldn't call it like a spiritual practice, but an internal practice, but just always just keeping my mind on how can I enter a moment, believe it or not, as gently as possible, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you see the intensities that we're capable of, but actually the the these are intensities I could never pull off for a long
Sure.
I couldn't really pull these intensities off if they if they represented my own quest for personal territory. The only reason why we can facilitate this energy because through the poem, um, bringing everybody's territory in, and so you know, in order to be kind of a good to do right by that, it and that's why this is selfish. It requires you to make yourself as open, as
Mm,
spacious, and actually vulnerable as
yeah.
possible. So, you know, so in a way, what's good for me, like a meditation or just a nice, man. So I was just involved. I was just involved in this occupation of an elementary school in Oakland. Oakland had this wave of school closures.
Mm,
And the last day of school for this school called Parker Elementary School, the last day of school, it was supposed to be open. Some mothers just decided that they was not going home and began to occupy the building with their kids.
Mm.
And more people joined, and the occupation ran about 125, 130 days, something like
wow.
that. Now, during the course of that, one super necessary part of organizing, is base building, going door to door. Hey, have you heard about what's going on at the school? Yeah, you should. This is why we're doing what we're doing, and this is why you should come.
Mm.
And there was this one day I was, oh man, I was so tired, and I was running, but we were trying to have, it was the 100-day anniversary cookout.
Oh,
And so I ran the whole, it's on Nay Avenue, and I basically ran from like Ritchie to 73rd Ave or something like that on Nay, just up and down flying the whole thing, right? And I'm knocking on every door, putting a flyer in everybody's hand, and I'm so tired, and I'm like, this is gonna take a good 4 hours.
oh my God.
Um, I stumbled onto this little trick, like if you just walk slowly, taking stock, like just non-judgmentally listing all the details of what you see.
Hmm.
Just in that short little walk from one door to the next, it's actually like waking up at the next door refreshed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you can't really, I mean, you can. I could try to like manhandle my life. Like
Like,
I could
make
try to
myself
I could
do
try to
something.
manhandle some self-care in, which is kind of what this corporatocracy promotes. Like
That's right.
pull
Squeeze
yourself
it in.
away. You know what I
Make
mean?
it happen.
Go over here, get a massage. You know what I mean? You can jerk yourself around,
Or you
or
can have like a very
you can kind
present,
of
meditative.
change your
Yeah,
relationship to the to-do list.
I love
So
it.
that's what I mean, and now not necessarily successfully have I
I
done
hear
it.
you though, Tongo.
I'm
I think
not,
that's an
I'm not
excellent
talking as
point.
a press, but that's one thing I try
I
to
love
do.
it. I love it. I think that is so, so, so important. And there are so many things pulling for our attention and our time and our money. Just having very present moments for ourselves, meditative moments where we're not pushed to squeeze it in or or go out and spend money is just critically important to our well-being. Matt, what about you? How do you prioritize self-care?
Well, I'm driven by the burning memory of a time when no one cared about me. So so I mean, I'm always on the go. I'd say the last. I mean, like it happens. I mean, like I'd say since June, there hasn't been a 3-day stretch where I didn't have a show. Um,
Wow.
I
That's
sometimes I get
wow.
2-day, 3-day. And like since I'm mid-June, I would say there was time where I was like doing something almost every day. And most days there was no stretch. It was most days it was like back. So I would say there was a time period there, and the last, I'd say 3 or 4 days. This is the first thing I've done in a couple of days, and this downtime has been horrible. It's giving me terrible anxiety. I'm not getting enough done, and like, what the hell? Have I fallen off? Am I? I'm kidding. But like, no, seriously. I really, I love what I do, and I try to do it to the best of me, and what I do is, I mean, the stuff that I write, even when I write about my own life, I try to pick the elements of my life that are not just the elements of my life. They're not just the peculiar things that have happened in my life. They're things that have happened to millions of people that they could identify. They're things that have happened to so many, and I try to like put it against a giant historic sweep that will provide not only myself but the audience with answers as to why these things happened. Maybe something exactly similar didn't happen to you. Maybe someone said it looks a little bit different, but these things, likely happened to you as well. And so that's kind of what the work encompasses. So a lot of my life is really just me doing this, me getting ready, me preparing for the show, like just practicing, doing this and that, and then doing the show, people coming up to me afterwards and talking about how they had a similar experience. And so then I'm constantly wrapped in like the stories of people. And it's what a life, how fortunate am I? How lucky am I?
Right.
And so as far as like pressure, right? The only time I've ever really kind of like, okay, this is bad, was back in, I think, 2019. 2019. And I had a trip to Havana coming up, and we were making a small documentary of these poets in LA to go to Havana. And at the same time, I was finishing Mowing Leaves of Grass. And at the same time, I was also curating an art show at the Dawson.
Oh my God.
Show, right?
I feel stressed.
And in each one of these situations, I was dealing with 3 different sets of characters. And that's what stresses me out.
Yeah.
I can work like 12 hours a day
for
a month and be fine.
Yeah.
And just be like, I love what I do. This is my life. I can be fine doing that. What I cannot do is work with different groups of people, with different sets of names, with different sets of priorities, with different,
too much.
and each thing being a separate container. So what I really try to do since then is really just synergize, because it got really bad. It got to the point where I was having trouble talking, where I was like collapsing in public, and where like my words would get stuck. I get stuck on a word, and I couldn't get off that one word. So my mind would like kind of like snap. And so like I've worked myself that hard before, and that was really bad. I mean, during the beginning of the pandemic, I actually ended up doing about 216 interviews in about a month.
My
I
God.
was doing like 9 a day, 10 a day, 1 day a day, 12 a day. And at the time, my mind was like, all right, I'm going to do 24, and these are all hour long. I was going to do a 24 hour long videos in 1 day. That was, my record can never be broken. It can only be I compete with the living.
Matt, we need to integrate some self-care in here.
but none of that was stressful to me, because it was all the same thing. It was interviewing people that I knew, and like getting details of their life, knowing like, okay, in the first part of the conversation, I'm gonna talk about what they've done, how they got to where they are. Next part of the conversation, what they're up to now. Next conversation, where they're headed. So that was kind of like,
you got into a rhythm. It was familiar to you. Yeah.
The format was familiar to me. What is difficult for me is going off in several different going off in many directions.
Yeah.
That's when I get stressed. That's when I start falling apart. That's when I can't maintain. So for anybody who really wants to pursue whatever they're doing really doggedly, really go after, just really go after it, really, just put all their eggs in one basket, just, pedal to the metal, whatever metaphor you want to use. My advice would be to synergize your activities, to try and really, you're working on projects with other people, but have them know each other. Don't get mad when they work on projects outside of you together. Don't get upset about that, because then you start stressing yourself over nothing. And always like try and like create connections that weren't there, and carve yourself in to the project, and that's how you stay working. I mean, for me anyways, that's how you stay working. So that's kind of like how I've managed to stay so productive and so busy, and also like how I don't lose my mind doing it. So
Yes, very, very
Yeah.
important. That's a great pearl of wisdom, Matt, and thank you so much for sharing. This process, and we're so excited for both of you in terms of the all of these incredible successes and opportunities. And of course, we want you also to take good care of yourselves. But that's an excellent pearl of wisdom. If you really want to go after it, try and make sure that these people are connected and that you're not like really getting past a limit for you where you're going to shut down.
Yep.
And this is our famous last double question involves a pearl of wisdom to writers, perhaps emerging writers, and a book recommendation, which I know is very hard, but maybe like your most recent favorite.
Right. And I'm very worried about Tongo because it's so late.
Tongo, we need to get you to bed.
Pearl of wisdom, Tongo, for these emerging writers out there, these youngsters who want to do what you do. Like just a brief little pearl of wisdom, and then a book that they should read.
For me, there's there's kind of three threads to always mind, and actually to give each their own due. So I have this kind of like, what looks singular, and not like nothing to make a documentary about, but like what looks like a pretty, a pretty singular output is actually synthesized from me taking different threads of interacting with reality and really learning them and doing right by them and on their terms and according to their histories, their rules, and their possibilities. So the three is like, one is a revolutionary praxis, because it's just like this reality is unacceptable.
Yes.
There's too many people to shout out. There are too many dead. There are too many people murdered. There's too many cases to bring attention to. You know what I mean? There's not one facet of this life where people is not suffering. And further, I know that I can't be a whole human being until everybody is. So in a way, man, kind of the bad news is I feel like, I had a little bit of time to or our generation, we got to spend a little bit of time in the well with Noah,
Yeah.
We're getting spit up. And I don't think younger folks got the same amount of time. When you look at the acceleration of climate catastrophe, look at the acceleration of global contest and violence. Things have to be set right immediately.
That's right.
So, and further, engaging reality through this kind of praxis of like, entering the historical process critically. This is what gives me a relationship to the information that I'm, that I'm digesting and building a poem. I'll build a book recommendation into the answer because I was just I'm actually in the middle of reading Audre Lorde's Sister Outsider. And
Yes.
like it's more like a collection of prose than poems. But she has this piece in there, this piece of prose. I think it's called "Poetry is Not a Luxury." And she argues that even that poetry is like almost the organism of transference of information to practice, right? That both on the side of digestion and then giving some architecture for you to then build a transformative practice on, or just to bring an idea in. an idea like true liberation, actually the mind can't immediately handle.
That's right.
If I'm like, yo, get all these pigs off your back, get all these exploiters dethroned, right? It's like, whoa, right? But we can build up from we can build these ideas into a practice from a kind of a musical arrangement.
I love that.
So
I love that what you just said right there. But it was digesting and yeah.
No, just real quick. Yeah, and then two more just I want to make sure I just okay, is that gonna, I can talk about this love revolution. but other two things to mind is just in craft itself, really every poet recreates poetry because it's such a non-physical experience.
Right.
It damn near don't have the laws of relativity. You know what I mean? The speed of light in my universe is different than the speed of light in yours. Okay. Right. So you very much teach yourself what poetry is.
That's right.
Keep a running conversation going in your mind. What am I doing? Why did this line hit? Why is this line flat? How do I work with myself? Learning how to work with the various aspects of yourself, just like we were talking earlier about working with the different aspects of the room of yourself when performing. The same thing applies when writing. Learn how to cooperate with grumpiness, with frustration, writers. You know what I mean? Yeah. How to temper euphoria, right, and keep it productive and not just this kind of self-indulgent thing. So all of this comes from setting out a lot of time to just write. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Confucius said in a movie that a diligent student doesn't need a teacher. All right, and that is very much true. I mean, you can pull from others, of course, get mentorship, tutoring, look to the greats, figure out what makes them tick. Look at other type of disciplines. Listen to Coltrane. Try to figure out what's going through his head as he's moving through a solo and incorporate that. And then and on and on and on. And then the third thing is just, again, like just that you got to have a practice of internal cultivation.
That's right.
To help you have a more kind of spacious engagement of ideas and language, and it'll just
love it.
Make you a better person. And make
Tongo,
life.
You just gave us a richness of pearls. so many pearls, Tongo. Really,
only because I don't, but I don't have any small talk for you though. That's the second. I couldn't tell you about nothing. Can't tell you about anything communal.
Tongo, thank you so much.
And so Matt, like what one,
Well, after that, well, I just want to reiterate that I'm really happy to be here with Tongo. I mean, I really, it's really dope that he's out in Amsterdam, still tuning in. I still remember the basement in Montebello when we were both nobody, and it's really it's incredible to see the things you've done, man.
Right on. Appreciate it, bro. Likewise.
So okay, so how I answer this question, I would say I would echo a lot of what Tongo said. I mean, pick up patterns and echoes from different disciplines. One of the biggest people that influenced me, I mean, politically he's terrible, but in terms of just patterns and stuff like that, are like Scorsese, man. A lot of what I do is like pattern of like Goodfellas, or it's like, okay, this gotta pop off this, gotta pop off that. These things gotta springboard off each other, and just like that. I mean, in music and in all kinds of different things, commercials. I mean, I listen to all kinds of things just to figure out, trying to find patterns and contrast. And that's one of the biggest things that I think people really need to understand, is that art is contrast. I mean, like whether even it's like a painting of like a red, just a red canvas against a white wall, it's still contrast. Still like one thing is popping off the other. And so like really kind of understanding that, and really making sure that like when you create something, it has different feels and textures and ways that things juxtapositions against each other. That's really important. And really to become a student of like the world and looking how things happen, and not really necessarily a student of other artists, but a student of other like techniques that the artist is employing. And then beyond that, to become a student of your own best work, to figure out how did you do what you did, to kind of reverse engineer these things that you did. And then beyond that, to become a student of your own mind. Understand the weird, odd little choices you make, the idiosyncratic things that you do, and get better at them. I'm not saying you're enough. You are not enough. You need to get better at it. And sharpen it and sharpen it and sharpen it and sharpen it. So when these techniques are employed by you, they get popularized and people begin to associate those techniques with your name. Develop a style. Turn that style into a discipline. Then turn that discipline into a standard of excellence that you hold yourself to every time out.
Woo!
Every time out.
Great.
And once you understand that you have developed a style and a discipline and a standard of excellence that you hold yourself to every time out, you will become the world's leading expert as to why you were excellent, why can be, and perhaps should be a mystery to the audience, but it should never be a mystery to you. Once you understand why you are great, you will not spend your entire life seeking validation, and no one can discredit you. Even if someone else's work is great, they are not the world's leading expert as to why you are great.
I love that.
Be great. Be great. Be prolific. Write well. Write about things that matter. And if you do those two things at the same time, you will be one of the world's greatest living writers. You will be one of the greatest writers to ever walk the face of the earth, because that is all that writing is.
I love it. I
There you
love it,
go.
Matt.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And
Amen,
Matt, all you gotta do,
A book review. A book recommendation. Blood on the Fog by Tongo Eisen-Martin.
Yes. All right. We need to give another round of applause to our incredible rock star poets of the evening, Tongo Eisen-Martin and Matt Sedillo. Oh my God. Both of you, absolutely incredible readings, and such a pleasure to get to talk with you now in the Q&A. We really so appreciate your time with us and everything that you shared. Thank you so much to our audience. You both have to go and check out Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and see all the comments and love that you have there. And remember, if people are watching later, you can go ahead and share it out. We'll be back next week with Chris.
Mary Bloom and Brad Davis. We will be here.
Awesome.
Check it out.
Thank you again so much, Tongo and Matt, and everyone. Have a good night.
Man, much love. Much love.